The automatic glass doors of the Skyward Club sighed shut, sealing Maya Brooks away from the summer cacophony of tourists in the Met's marble atrium. Inside, everything gleamed. Brass railings, crystal sconces, and reputations polished by generations of philanthropy. Maya's acrylic pass, stamped Guest Curatorial Observer, rested on her chest, like both invitation and question mark. 22 weeks from graduating Howard with a double major, nobody understood but her. Art history and aeronautical design. She felt both brilliant and precarious. Bag slung over one shoulder, she drifted toward an empty leather settee near a window that framed Central Park's July haze. Conversations braided through the lounge. Auction gossip, curatorial one-upmanship, quiet power deals, all in hushed tones that politely ignored the black woman in thrift store Oxfords. She opened her notebook, its pages dense with sketches of kinetic sculptures. Calder's grand retrospective would open downstairs in 2 hours, and her essay on motion and social gravity had earned her this pass. It had also cost 6 months of nights at the Howard Library and her mother's small Washington apartment. Rent paid by postal overtime. A message pinged, "Professor Imari Collins, running late, lighting glitch, sit tight 20. Maya exhaled, fixed her curls, and let her eyes rest on the fireplace screen, looping archival footage of Calder bending wire. 5 quiet minutes, then footsteps like gavel blows halted in front of her. "This area is restricted to board-level guests and credentialed press," a clipped female voice announced. "Service corridors are downstairs." Maya looked up to see Victoria Sterling, chief curator of the Met's modern wing. Silver bob, Armani suit, 4 diamond lapel pins shaped like the museum facade. Sterling's gaze flicked from the past to Maya's face, judgment settling like dust on polished glass. "Professor Collins placed me here," Maya said, lifting the badge. Sterling tapped the laminate as if testing counterfeit. "That pass isn't issued to externs. Security will verify." Heat climbed Maya's neck. "Call Professor Collins." "Protocols exist for a reason." Sterling's smile barely moved. "ID, please." Hands shaking, annoyed at their own tremor, Maya produced her Howard card. Sterling scanned it, then leaned close enough for Maya to taste her mint breath. "Remember," Sterling whispered, "some doors open naturally. Others require credentials your resume doesn't provide." "I earned this," Maya replied, voice steady but low. Sterling straightened, already broadcasting for security. Patrons eavesdropping pretended not to listen. No one intervened. 10 minutes later, 2 guards escorted Maya down a staff hallway that smelled of toner and old coffee. Sterling's heels clicked behind them like a metronome counting down dignity. Inside badge control, fluorescent lights hummed. Sterling hovered, arms folded. "Confess who fabricated the pass," she pressed. "Was it Collins?" "My calm isn't the problem," Maya said to the taller guard, Hines. "Bias is." Calls to Collins went unanswered. Sterling signed a form voiding the guest badge and pushed it across the metal table. "Trespass notice. Sign, and we'll release you." Maya dialed a number learned in childhood. "Uncle Langston? They think my badge is fake." "Stay put," came the baritone reply. 10 minutes. Sterling eyed her. Family won't change procedure. But family sometimes owns the procedure. 10 minutes stretched to 15. Then a ripple of radios, hurried steps. Langston Grant, the aerospace titan whose endowment financed 2 museum wings, entered with the president and trustees in tow. He embraced Maya, then faced Sterling. "Explain." Security replayed lounge footage. Sterling's dismissal. Maya's calm. The president's verdict was swift. Sterling suspended pending review. In the elevator, Langston winked. Bad timing on my flight. Good timing for justice. Downstairs, Professor Collins apologized breathlessly. The board, eager for contrition, extended Maya's observer placement through December, stipend included. A week later, she arrived before dawn, watching riggers hoist Calder's massive mobile. Collins handed her a work badge, curatorial intern. Earned, the professor said. No quotation marks. Time pressure loomed. The Modern Wings Donors Gala fell on the retrospective's closing night. Collins needed fresh eyes on the next show, Gravity's Muse, art and flight entwined. Maya's double major suddenly looked prescient. Early wins came fast. She secured a rare Bessie Coleman newsreel and a Boeing wind tunnel model. Yet jealousy brewed. Deputy Registrar Jeffrey Ames, mentor to the disgraced Sterling, watched from his office, pen tapping like a woodpecker on marble. The museum was also counting down Sterling's ethics hearing, set for Gala Week. Tension pooled beneath polite smiles. Late August, during a coffee run, Maya rounded a corner and nearly collided with Ames. Papers scattered. He knelt to gather them, eyes scanning her badge a moment too long. "Ambitious, Miss Brooks," he said, handing over her notebook. "Be sure your wings are rated for this altitude." She smiled with polite teeth. "I study lift coefficients daily." Ames's grin twitched. Weeks later, the Tuskegee Airman William Powell's silken wood glider arrived, a narrative keystone for Gravity's Muse. Maya scanned the crate and watched two handlers wheel it to Cold Storage B. That night, a silent figure trundled a crate jack down the same corridor, camera lens jammed conveniently toward the wall. Next morning, the glider was gone. Ames convened an emergency meeting. Manifest shows Ms. Brooks last handled the artifact. Eyes turned to Maya. After inspection, art handlers logged it, she said, voice calm but heartbeat thrumming. Memories of Sterling's accusation resurfaced like a bruise pressed too soon. The board could not lose the Powell glider. Without it, publicity commitments and gala donations might crater. Collins defended Maya, but evidence felt thin as silk wing fabric. Langston called in an independent forensic team. LiDAR scans and RFID sniffers found the crate wedged in a dead camera corner, wingtip scraped. Badge logs placed Ames at the door at 22:13. Confronted, Ames cited environmental checks. The timeline collapsed under scrutiny. His disciplinary hearing was merged with Sterling's. Two careers judged in one high-stakes session scheduled 3 hours before gala doors would open. Maya spent the nights before the hearing sketching alone in a windowless office, doubt finally breaching her resolve. What if bias won? What if every gain dissolved into a single narrative? Imposter? Troublemaker? Charity case? She called her mother at 3 a.m., voice raw. They might believe him. Her mother replied through yawn-rough lips. Baby, storms test wings, not define them. Fly through. Morning of the hearings, marble corridors buzzed. Staff packed rear rows like jurors of a silent trial. Sterling faced the board first. Video playback, disparaging emails, 3 prior bias complaints. She crumbled, tears smearing mascara. Apology thin as tracing paper. The vote. Dismissal. 5-year ban from curatorial leadership nationwide. Ames followed. Logs, firmware tampering, crate jack scratches matching his Volvo. He scarcely lasted 20 minutes before the board voted for termination and a criminal referral. The gala opened at 6. Visitors noticed nothing amiss, but staff exhaled as though the building itself had shed ballast. In the quiet after midnight cleanup, Maya stood beneath Calder's mobile, air conditioning nudging its red fins. Collins joined her. "You doubted," the mentor said gently. "Briefly," Maya admitted. "That's progress. Doubt is wind. Use it for lift." Maya's flight to Florida lifted before dawn, silver wings carving a bruised rose horizon. She closed her eyes as the engines throttled, imagining the thrust equation she once scribbled in a dorm notebook. T equals m times the square root of the ratio of VE to VO. In the years since, every humiliation, every late-night CAD revision had felt like mass flow in that equation, moments of fuel feeding a larger climb. At Orlando, she met a NASA escort who whisked her and her mother down the coast. Shuttle landing facility flashed by. One endless slab of concrete pointed at the Atlantic. Billboards showed the Artemis crew smiling in pressure suits. Below each face flickered the mission slogan, "We go together." Maya's mother pressed her daughter's hand, repeating the words like a hymn. At Kennedy Space Center, the humid air tasted of salt and kerosene. VIP lanyards granted access to a glass-walled gallery overlooking the vehicle assembly building, a monolith big enough to bruise the sky. Langston joined them in a navy blazer stitched with tiny rocket schematics, the one playful garment he allowed himself. Professor Collins arrived jittery with excitement, brandishing a spiral notebook for launch notes. Engineers guided Maya through last-minute briefings. Her titanium origami plane, folded flat inside a crystal capsule, rode in the secondary payload bay of the Orion capsule. At lunar orbit day 10, the capsule door would open, springing the plane free to bloom in microgravity and drift beneath a tracking camera. The feed would downlink to Houston and then, via a public channel, to the Met's Center for Aeronautical Arts and Equity. Night settled quickly on the coastal plain. Countdown clocks glowed red under arc lamps, cicadas rasped in palmetto scrub. At T-3 hours, NASA buses parked guests at the Banana Creek viewing bleachers. The rocket, a column of ivory and orange, stood wreathed in spotlights, LOX vapors curling like phantom wings. Children wriggled in branded hoodies. Retired astronauts recited checklists under their breath. T 10 minutes. Final go calls snapped over loudspeakers. Maya's mother clasped her shoulders. "Look up, baby." Maya did. She thought of every hallway where she had once stared at polished floors, willing herself invisible. So much of becoming visible, she realized, was simply keeping her chin parallel to horizon. T10, 9, 8, 7. A white gout of exhaust blossomed, turning night to magnesium daylight. 6, 5. The bleachers vibrated. 4, 3. Her heartbeat matched the engine's rising howl. 2, 1. Ignition. The rocket lurched skyward, thunder hammering chest cavities. A collective gasp rose. Maya felt it in her molars, in scar tissue of old slights, in copper veins etched with Angelo lines. A sound like every door slamming open at once. The plume painted a boiling parabola across the stars. Boosters separated, twin suns arcing outward before winking into darkness. Applause burst, then dissolved into awed silence as the main stage dwindled to a flicker. Hours later, back in a debrief suite scented with burnt coffee, NASA streamed first-stage recovery footage. Someone uncorked sparkling cider. Collins wept openly. Langston toasted perfect ascent. Maya spoke only 2 words, "Still climbing," and no one asked her to elaborate. For the next 10 days she barely slept, shuttling between Cocoa Beach hotels and mission briefings. She typed blog posts for the Met's website, answering school children's emailed questions. How heavy is the plane? Will it come back? Can art survive vacuum? She replied that art, like hope, had always thrived where logic predicted failure. On day 10, a hush fell in the mission director's theater. Lunar orbit telemetry scrolled across big screens. In New York, thousands gathered inside the Met. The center kept midnight hours, projectors splashing live data across gallery walls. Collins messaged Maya a shaky video of Spiral to Horizon spinning while visitors counted down. The capsule hatch camera flickered on, a rectangle of gray-scale silver, still except for dust motes drifting like snow. A small actuator fired. The crystal capsule slid outward and split along laser seams. Inside, the titanium sheet unfolded petal by petal. A slow, deliberate blossom. Etched names glimmered: Coleman, Bullard, Darden, Jemison, Grant, Brooks. Reaction jets nudged the plane into sunlight where it flashed, spinning gently, wingtips casting prismatic halos onto capsule hull. The control room erupted. In New York, cheers ricocheted off marble. Airflow ribbons on the mezzanine bridge pulsed brighter to celebrate. A sixth-grade girl, the same one with space buns from months earlier, stood on tiptoe, arms raised, eyes wide. Someone photographed the moment. Later, the image would headline 3 news sites under captions about possibility. NASA's commentator asked Maya to speak for archival audio. She cleared her throat. "Human dreams have mass, but so does courage," she said. "When we add enough of both to the equation, we generate lift greater than the gravity of doubt." The engineer at the next console whispered, "Amen." After a red-eye back to LaGuardia, she cabbed straight to the museum, suitcase wheels humming over pre-dawn sidewalks. Inside, night guards saluted. One offered coffee. She declined, wanting silence. She rode the freight elevator to the mezzanine and stepped onto the suspension bridge. The building slept, except for HVAC sighs. Projected airflow traced luminous filaments around her body, painting wings that vanished as fast as they formed. Below, Spiral to Horizon rotated, copper unmarred by its brush with rain. Holding pattern glowed, protest patch vivid. In a side alcove, a new display case held an empty crystal capsule and a plaque. This vessel carried Flight Flower, a work of art etched with the names of dreamers who challenged gravity. Deployed in lunar orbit, 24 March, 2026. Maya brushed the glass, then reached the end of the bridge where sunlight from clear-story windows began bleeding pale gold. She pulled Langston's Kitty Hawk pen from her pocket and clicked it once, twice, like a launch button. Somewhere on the far side of Earth, the titanium plane traced its silent ellipse, embroidery in vacuum. Footsteps approached. President Liu, hair unpinned, face soft with unguarded pride. She handed Maya an envelope heavier than simple paper. Inside, a multi-year contract naming Maya Senior Curator of Aerospace Arts and Equity and steward of a forthcoming satellite branch at the Smithsonian Castle. A single sticky note read, "You showed us how high a museum can fly." Maya blinked hard. "I'll need a bigger team," she whispered. "You'll have it," Liu replied. "Build runways, not pedestals." They walked the galleries as lights brightened, pausing where docents would soon station themselves. Workers wheeled in racks of fresh paper for folding plane workshops. A janitor polished footprints from marble, haloing each step in brief shine. Mid-morning, families poured in. Kids darted under mobiles. Retirees lingered by the glider's patched silk. Maya answered questions until her voice rasped, then excused herself and climbed to the roof garden. New York shimmered under cool sunshine. Helicopters stitched lazy arcs over the East River. Pigeons erupted from ledges in frantic lift. Maya leaned on the parapet, feeling the city's thermals swirl. She closed her eyes, heard echoes. Sterling's powder-dry disdain, Ames's pen-tapping war drums, Collins's patient coaching, her mother's midnight pep talks, Langston's baritone declaring bad timing, good justice. All of it tumbled together, noisy and necessary, like wind rushing over a composite wing. A text buzzed, an image from NASA, the titanium plane silhouetted against lunar horizon, Earthrise paling in the distance. Beneath, the caption read, "She belongs up here." Tears blurred the screen. Maya typed 3 words to Collins: Langston, her mother, the Pendletons, Sterling, the 6th-grade girls' class email list, every intern on her team. Keep looking up. She pocketed the phone and inhaled the thin rooftop breeze. Belonging, she realized, was neither gift nor conquest. It was ballast jettisoned with each act of earned trust, making room for greater climb. The sky had never asked for credentials, only for pilots willing to adjust trim when turbulence hit. Below, gallery doors opened wider to the day's tide of visitors. Above, a tiny titanium blossom twirled around the moon, sunbeams flashing off its etched names. And right here, between marble floors and orbital flight paths, Maya Brooks felt the gravity of doubt ease another fraction, just enough for lift to whisper again.